Hello, and welcome back to yet another retro channel. As you can see, today we have the Amstrad CPC 464 back on the bench. And that is because I have a new toy, something that just came in. This is the CPC Dandanator Mini Dual. This is, it was designed by a gentleman by the name of Dandanator or Dandare. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. He is a Spanish individual. His website is in Spanish. And a group that I think they call the Rancanio group that have all come together to design this device. Now, Dan developed the Dandanator for the ZX line, the Sinclair Spectrums. So there is a ZX Dandanator as well. But once he finished that, he realized that the basic idea could be applied to other machines, and he developed the CPC Dandanator. There are several revisions: the Dandanator, the Dandanator Elite Plus, the Dandanator Mini, and this is the Dandanator Mini Dual. Mini referring to the size, and Dual referring to the fact that this has twice as much storage on it. The original Dandanator held, or it's controlled by a CPLD with specialized firmware, and it has on it, the original had on it 512K of electrically erasable programmable read-only memory, EEPROM, that you can store both an alternate ROM in, and you can also store snapshots. I believe, and I haven't been able to figure this out for sure because, like I said, the gentleman's website is in Spanish, and I'm not sure that Google is translating it 100%, and there's not a lot of other information. But the way I understand what the snapshot is, it's an image of the RAM and the registers and everything about the CPC at a given moment in time. So you can use that. You can load you can load the program that you want to put on the Dandanator into a CPC emulator, and once it's loaded, you can take a snapshot and put multiple of those onto these devices, and then select them from a menu. So this is another way to load software onto the CPC. We've already looked at the tape drive. Again, this one does need some restoration. I am still waiting on the belts and the tire to do the restoration on this, so I can't do that yet. We did put in 3.5 millimeter and 2.5 millimeter ports to use an external audio source, such as your cell phone, tablet, or computer, or a TZX Duino, which once I get the parts for that, which are still on order from AliExpress, I'll be building one of those up and showing you that as another alternate method of input. There is the CPC Dandanator, and then there is also a DDI, disk drive interface, that you can get for these that allows you to use an external disk drive. I do have one of those on order, so we will be taking a look at that in the future as well. So let's go ahead and connect the Dandanator, and it connects to the expansion port in the back of the CPC. Hopefully this will play nice. When I got it, I tried it out and it was not working. It was giving me a black screen. I fought with it for quite a while until I realized that it was the expansion port card edge connector that had contaminants on it. they were virtually invisible. They just created a little dullness. They didn't have any. There weren't any black or, other discoloration on the fingers of the connector, but they just weren't shiny. And what I ended up doing is using a fiberglass pen, which is this little device. Has fiberglass coming out the end. You can extend it, and I used that to abrade away the contaminants on that card edge connector. And once I did that, it seemed to be working fine. So let's hope it still works fine. And let's switch over to a view that you can see here, overhead and output. Now I have this, as I said, this now has double the memory space, and it does that by having two banks. So you switch between the banks with this switch right here. You've also got this button that activates the alternate ROM that's stored. This button will disable it, so you go directly to basic, and you have a reset button here. So if I were to, for instance, have it in bank 1 and hold down the Alter and bring it up, it's going to bring up Noel Lopis's diagnostics ROM. So it's now running his diagnostics. Memory was good. We can look at lower RAM. Again, that's the same test that was already run. And it comes back passed. Now that we're using an external ROM, we can hit the ROM test, which we couldn't do before because to run this at all, I had to replace the ROM on the board with an EEPROM program with Noel's diagnostics. But now that we have an external ROM, we can run this ROM test, and it shows us that our ROMs are good. So now the lower RAM passed. Upper RAM doesn't exist. Upper RAM would apply if you have a CPC 6128 with 128K of memory. You'd have the lower RAM as the bottom 64K, and the upper RAM is the upper 64K. The lower and upper ROMs both passed, and then we can run the keyboard test and check all the keys. And the joystick. This is a single button joystick. Keyboard failed. I missed a key. We'll run that again. And now it shows passed. So, very handy tool for diagnosing either a CPC 464 or 6128. It will identify which one you're using, and it will let you diagnose some of your problems, and that can get you to a solution quicker. So, as I said, there's also a reset switch. Now, if I hold down disable while I hit reset, it's going to go directly into Amstrad Basic. But if I hit reset without any other switches, it'll bring us into the Dandanator menu. And this is the menu for Bank 1 for the first 512K. Now these images that are on here, and that source input output will go away momentarily. That set of images is preloaded onto the Dandanator. In the second bank, I have an image that I put together and installed myself of different games. But as you can see, you've got 10 images there, or snapshots, and you've got a further 4 snapshots on page 2. The other options that you see on the screen: loader, USB game, commutar, pokes, and Amstrad diag lower. If I hit R for the Amstrad diag lower, it would go into Noel's diagnostics again. Pokes, as I understand it, there are some games that require some memory pokes to get them to work the way you want them to, or to allow you to make changes to how they operate. I'm really not familiar with that, so I haven't played with that at all. My understanding is USB game would allow me to send a game directly from a game snapshot directly from a connected PC and have it run immediately. And the loader is where you go to load ROM sets onto the EEPROM. So I'm going to reset this and go to bank 2. And again, the start thing will go away in a minute, but this is a set of games that I loaded onto it. And I will show you how that works. So once this clears, come on. Oh, come on, there we go. So in this case, you see we've got 18. The images are 64K, but the software does compress them, and they're stored compressed on here, so you can get more than you might think onto the EEPROM. Prince of Persia doesn't work because Prince of Persia is a multi-load game, and that's a game where it loads more than once. So if you're loading it off of disk, it loads the main screen, and then when you hit a key to start, it loads more data. The Dandanator cannot handle those, at least at the moment. The website does say at this time, so there is hope that they may improve them going forward or update the firmware so that they can handle multi-load games, but right now they do not. Prince of Persia off of disk requires that the disk stay in. Prince of Persia off of cassette requires at some point that you flip the cassette over and load data from the back side. So Prince of Persia doesn't actually work, although it's on here. Let's look at, for instance, Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong, this cracked version has some ability for you to make change there to be invulnerable, but I'm not going to pick that. Sorry, I'm just muting my little screen so you get all the sound from the video capture. And I will mute my microphone as well. Okay, that's enough of that. It's an okay version of Donkey Kong. Its gameplay is a little off from the original, and the sound is obviously not as good. The order of levels isn't the same as the original, so it's a so-so version, though it looks pretty good. Other games, these are the common games that I hear about people playing and liking. I tried to put a decent set together. But now, let's take a look at what happens if you want to build your own ROM set. Okay, what you will need to flash your own images onto the Dandanator first is you will need a USB cable terminated in what I believe is called a USB-B Mini. That's this one right here. The Dandanator has that port on the back. You connect your USB-B Mini to the Dandanator, plug the Dandanator into the CPC. You can find it, there it is. Pick which bank you want to flash, and I'm going to flash bank 2. Boot the CPC and have the USB connected to a PC. Now, I believe this can be done with Windows, Linux, or Macintosh, so you just need the right other software. You're also going to need the driver for the device, and I will put the links to the driver, the software, and you also need to have the Java runtime environment version 8 or later. So you'll need to have JRE 8, download the current version, because the software, which is what you're seeing here in the upper screen, this software is actually an executable jar file. So it needs Java to run. Again, I'll put the links to this software and the driver, and a couple of good tutorial websites that you can look at in the description below. But when you open this software, it'll open up like this. Then what you do is you drop your games, into this section here. Now, this software is written to accept SNA files, .sna, which is a snapshot. It will also take .dsk disk images and .cdt cassette tape images. But it will only work with SNAs. So what happens, this window here is actually an Amstrad emulator. Now you can configure in the preferences, you can configure whether you want a CPC 464 or a CPC 6128. You do need to set that in advance because things are different between them. You can also change the background image if you want. Over on this tab, you need to select the serial port. When you load the driver, it will create a device when it's connected in your device manager, registering it as a COM port. In my case, it's registered as COM3. This PC has a regular COM port that's COM1, and it registered this device, the Dandanator, as COM3. So once you've dropped an image in here, let's say you drop a disk image, it will run that disk image in the emulator and take a snapshot, and it'll use the snapshot that it takes. The same with a cassette image, a CDT. It will load the image in the emulator and then take a snapshot. Now, this is basically beta functionality to do that. It won't always do it right, and I will show you another way to handle that in a moment. But for now, let's say we want to add. You can either drop games here or you can go to the add button and it'll bring this up. Let's say I want to use 3D pinball. So I can pick that, and what it's doing, as you can see, is it's running pinball from the image and creating a snapshot. And this is the snapshot. Now, when you click on one of the snapshots in the games list, you get to edit things. In this case, I just don't want that parenthesis E in the title. So if I take that out, you see it changed over in the games list. So if you then you build up a list of games you want to include. Now you can look down here. This R is showing you the capacity of the 512K bank. So if you run out of this, if you pass beyond the end of this blue, you won't be able to write that ROM image because it's too large. But let's add another couple of games. Let's say I want to add let's say another pinball here. It's loading it into the emulator. And now you've got two images, and I can again edit this name. Add another one, let's say, how about aliens? Bit of a larger game that it's loading, so it's taking a while. Now, if I have a ROM set in here that I like, that I may want to switch in and out, you can create a ROM, and that lets you save the ROM image. So let's say games 2, and put it on my desktop and save it. Now, if I were to erase all of those, I can load them back in by importing a ROM set. And poof, there they are all back again, so that I could load them. Now, I need to add, in fact, I put it up there. To then store these onto the Dandanator, we click this second little dot at the bottom of the Dandanator screen, and that brings us to the EEPROM writer. Now, I don't know if this is going to work. This can be finicky, so it may or may not work, but I'm going to click the USB icon, and then on the CPC, I'm going to hit L to bring us to the loader, and it is working. So as you can see there, it is loading block 2, and you can see the activity in the EEPROM writer window, where it is uploading the EEPROM ROM image to the Dandanator, again in bank 2, because that's how I have the switch set. And this will take a few moments, so I'll go ahead and speed this up for you. Okay, and as you can see, once it's done, it drops back to the main Dandanator screen, and we'll go ahead and run these games and see if they work. Now, like I said, sometimes the emulator in the ROM Generator software doesn't always work right, so these may or may not work. We'll give them a try. Excuse me. I'm not sure what I have to do to start this game. There we go. Don't know what the keys are. Space starts the ball, and I don't know how to. Well, as you can see, the game is running. So that one is a success. We'll go ahead and go back to the Dandanator menu and try game number 2, Advanced Pinball Simulator. That one appears to be working as well. We can wait for the SCART to go away. There we go. I have device muted. My bad. So that one appears to be working. We'll go ahead and look at Aliens. Well, that wasn't good. Let's try that again. I'm not sure why that's not working. So that's one to try the alternate method on. So we'll give you a demonstration of that. Now, like I said, this emulator here doesn't always get the game correct. So what you can do is there are quite a few Amstrad emulators out there for Windows, Mac, Linux, whatever. I am going to use. You need to find one that does snapshots, and the one I use for that is WinApe. Now this is WinApe. What was that? Yeah. So this is WinApe, and it is an emulator for most of the Amstrad machines. I am going to change it to the CPC 464 without Parados, because we don't need disk in this case. What we do here is we go ahead and load the image as if we were going to load it and play it and use it in the emulator. So to do that, we're going to go and click on the tape control. That brings up this window. We're going to open the same tape file we had. Aliens. There it is. That loads this as if it were in the cassette drive. Okay. And then we go to the emulator itself. We'll do a cold reset. There we go. We type in run as if we were going to run a program off the cassette, because that's exactly what we're going to do. And then we're going to hit a key, and it should start loading the game. And I will speed you through this because it'll take a while. And now we'll save a snapshot of the current state of the emulator, leaving all of these options as they are. And we'll name it Aliens. Then we'll switch back to our ROM generator and replace the previous Aliens snapshot with the one we've just created. And you'll notice, because we've added a snapshot and not a disk image or cassette image, that it's not running in the emulator. And now we load the ROM set onto the Dandanator just like we did before. Okay, so now let's go and see if our new Aliens image works. Brings us right to the starting point. So I'm not sure how to play this game, but it does appear to be working this time. So we were able to get a working snapshot, whereas the emulator in the ROM generator didn't give us one. It stopped halfway through the loading process, or actually a fraction of the way through the loading process. So that is how you load games, ROM images onto the CPC Dandanator. And that's about all I have to show you for this device. So note that you can also load different alternate ROM images, where the images for the image of Noel Lopez's diagnostics is right now. You can load different ROMs into there. I'm not sure what all there'd be. I know that in the second bank, it doesn't have Noel's Noel's image, it has a different diagnostic, and I'm not sure what that one's doing. It just keeps cycling through and never really gives me any results. So, for instance, if I hold Alter and reset, I get this. I believe this is a more simplistic diagnostic, and I'm not sure exactly what it's telling me. So, but that's what's there. So you can put different alternate ROMs in each bank, bank 1 and bank 2. And well, I suppose let's try this USB game. Okay. If I put it in USB game mode, I believe what I can do is go to the extra menu. No, it still doesn't let me do that. All right, well, there's supposed to be a way that you can, oh, there we go, send game via serial port. So I can send a game, error sending game. Didn't like that. Supposedly you can send a game directly to the CPC over the USB link without loading it as a ROM, just a single one-off. You're supposed to be able to send that, but I've never tried it. This is the first time I tried, and it doesn't seem to have done anything. So we'll leave that for another day. But that's it for today. I'm glad to be back here making videos again. So if you enjoyed this video, and I know a little disjointed as usual, but hopefully you'll take something informational from it. But if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. That helps the channel a lot. If you haven't already subscribed, if you're not already a subscriber, please click the subscribe button and click the little notification bell so you are alerted when I post new videos. Share the video with whoever you think might find it enjoyable, might find it useful. Again, I will put all the links in the description below, so take a look at those. Leave a comment. I really do enjoy the comments, enjoy engaging with you guys, and it also helps the channel a lot. Helps me get suggested to other viewers who might be interested. Take a look over at my friends in our little YouTube Retro Repairers group. We've actually added a new member, so our member list is now myself, Captain Commodore, Retro4U, 8-Bit Retro Refix, Joseph Retrobits, and our new member, Peter of 8-Bits in the Basement. So those links will also be in the description below. And again, thank you to my patron. I've got one at the moment. If you feel like supporting the channel, the link for that is also in the description. But my patron's name has shown up on the screen, and I'm very grateful for your support. And that'll about do it for today. We'll be looking at a couple of other methods for loading software onto the CPC in future videos. I believe the next Saturday video, or our next main video, will be a Commodore related one. So look forward to that. And everybody, stay safe and be well. Spend time with your families. I hope you get to do that. In the States here, we do have a holiday coming up, the 4th of July, Independence Day. So that may or may not delay one of my videos next week. But if you are in the States, have fun and celebrate safely. I know a lot more states are allowing fireworks now. Just be careful with them. They can be dangerous. And of course, a lot of people do celebrate with a few cold ones, and you should be careful and be safe with that too. And I think that'll do it. So Everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Bye.